July 19th, 2022 Library Board meeting to order. Would you please stand and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brittany, would you please call the roll?
You bet. All right, Gail.
I am here.
Carrie. Here. Okay, Alderperson Schrader.
Here.
Barb.
Here.
Tony.
Here.
Tracy. Here. And Nancy.
Here.
Okay, and Michelle is excused. We have a quorum.
Excellent. And if you would please make your statement on the public minutes, please.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you, Brittany. I do not see anyone here for public comment, so I think we can skip that portion of the agenda and move to the consent agenda, looking for a motion to approve the minutes of June 21st, 2022, as well as the June 2022 financials. Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Tracy.
Could I ask a question, Madam President?
You have
to accept.
Okay,
And then we can.
okay.
a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, discussion, there you go.
Yeah, here, what's a hub and a peeler?
What's a who and a what?
A hub and a peeler.
Okay, hold on just a second. I'm catching up on notes. Wait a
We're
minute.
buying hubs and peelers.
What page is that?
Oh, I see.
Five.
Five.
For RFID card.
For the cart.
Oh,
But-
yes.
But we're renting the cart. If you look at the next page, we're renting the cart, so why are we paying for hubs and peelers?
They are little metal scraper things that are used to like pop up, Tony knows, pop up like old like barcodes or old like tape or things like that. So they're like these little metal implement tools.
Okay.
And we put them on all the different carts so that if staff encounter books that need like the tape to be slit carefully in order to insert the tags, we have them.
So when the rentals leave the building, the hubs and peelers do not.
So we rented 2 carts, but we ended up building 4 more, piecemealing like stuff ourselves.
I get it. I was in here watching.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. I forgot. So, but yeah, any material that we purchased is ours to keep, and we can reuse it for our daily processing work.
Okay, and I have one more question. Do you mind, Gail?
Absolutely, not at all.
The Happy Mower.
Yes, great name for a company. They are the what's the word?
Landscape.
Lawn care. Thank you, Tracy. This is gonna be like one of those.
Finders.
What is that? Mad Libs. Yeah. Like everyone pick a different word to help me.
It has to be an adjective.
Right.
One of my favorite games.
So is this a person or a thing?
It's a company. It's a company.
But
Yeah.
I thought the city did it, that's why I circled it.
The city runs
Contracts it out.
that.
Oh.
To the Happy Mower.
I'm not even needed. I'm gonna leave.
Excuse me.
Tracy's in charge.
Yes. All right.
Excuse
up.
my comments, but I thought about the happy hookers. As
Yeah,
soon as I
okay.
saw that on the wall.
Happy more.
Let the record show.
No.
Oh, goodness. Okay, this is going to be a fun meeting tonight,
Yeah,
right?
we're all
Let the
pepped
party
up here.
begin. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Hi, Phyllis.
Sorry, I'm late. Transporting kids.
Anybody else have anything? I have a couple.
Yes.
Just, Baker and Taylor, the expenditure there is, I think it's higher than usual. Am I right about that? And not that it matters. I just was wondering, like, why you would purchase so much more in a particular month than another, or? Is there
It depends on when the releases come out.
Okay.
And certainly
Alright.
publishers love summer because they know people are reading. So
There you go. Under card member services, the Zoo Pass. I must have been dozing when we talked about this. I thought that there was that we weren't paying for them. That there
Correct.
Yeah.
Great question. So the little notation before Zoo Pass says FOL.
Oh, Friends of the Library.
Yeah, but let me say that for the group because we have some new members, new trustees. Anything that says FOL means Friends of the Library. And so though the expense comes to us, you'll see a reimbursement in our reimbursement line for the Friends of the Library. They pay us back for that. So that's a net 0 there.
Yeah, I didn't think the zoo gave them to us, but I didn't think we paid for them either. That was
Yeah.
kind of why I was a little
Correct.
confused.
So that's just an annual fee that they're
Correct.
paying? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so, and I did circle Envisionware, but I don't really have any comment on that. I always like to kind of highlight a company that I don't really understand or know what it does. And how about Find a Way World? What is that company?
Find a Way
It's right below
is
Envisionware.
I think that's the starts with the P, Playaways. So audiobooks.
Okay.
That come on little MP3 players.
All right.
Super popular.
Yes, they are.
Siemens, the install, configure the new fire.
Thank you,
Was that
that
the
was
one that
mine.
was a surprise?
Surprise.
I mean, 'cause
Was
I think
it
you
an
said we had a
emergency
yeah,
surprise?
There was something like that
I
you
wouldn't
didn't
call it a
expect
surprise like, whoa, the roof just caved in,
Mhm.
but
Heaven forbid, don't say
it,
that.
it hadn't been working and functioning properly in terms of the alarms,
Mm-hmm.
and so if you asked me last year if I was planning on doing it, the answer was no, but
Mm.
it wasn't crazy. Like we were able to implement it, gradually and not without fretting, if I can.
All right. That's all I have. I circled the happy mower too. That made me smile when I looked at it. So, and then on the budget worksheet, it looks like we're at 50% of budget, so we're tracking, we're not like, of course you have to figure based on 12 months, not 10 months.
Yeah, and of course, different things hit at different times
Yep,
of the
they do.
year, so.
Mhm. Okay, so nothing there.
But I wouldn't say that nothing has happened this year to the budget that made me thought, oh, we are gonna, sorry, yeah,
No.
that is outside of the normal operational maintenance of it.
And then the final one that I have is on the, what page is it here? Page 12. It looks like we're at 47.41% of budget and we're in July, so what am I missing here? Because that would only be a third of the year.
Well, so we are at
Oh, no, that's not the
47.41.
right way to say it. Anyway, go ahead,
Yeah,
explain.
so we've
That's not the right way to say it.
spent 47.41% of the budget, and
But we're more than half into the year.
yeah, but like I said, things like hit at different times of the year,
okay.
so we
So
may
you're comfortable.
comfortable.
Or we shouldn't be happy that you spent less.
There you go. Yes, you never know. It evens out throughout the year.
All right,
Yeah.
so anybody else have anything? Because otherwise we're ready for a vote.
I've got one question.
Go ahead.
And you may have already said this, what is advanced chemical systems?
Advanced chemical systems. They tested our water and they determined that there was some metal in it. Nothing that was dangerous to our health, but the problem was it can gum up the system and the mechanics, and so we have this system that filtrates out the metals. And so maintenance, they did it at City Hall and they recommended the system here too. So now we pay sort of a quarterly fee, to do that. So it should extend the lifespan of the
Excellent.
pipes.
Prevention does work.
Where is Abby's desk?
Where is it?
Abby's desk.
Because she's got a heater for her desk. I'm just trying to figure
Oh,
out.
I saw
like,
that too, and I didn't.
Where
Oh,
is
yeah.
it close to a window that she's cold or?
I mean, I think different staff members have different temperature comforts, and some have space heaters to help with that. It is near a window, so.
And those are approved like space heaters.
Yeah, they haven't caused any issues. So we've It also depends on if you're under, depending upon what
Yeah, the
vents you're
vents
under,
and
that can be a really big difference too.
Okay, anyone else?
Tracy's knitting all
Wool
sweaters.
socks.
Blankets. I have lots of blankets. I could get.
Okay, I think we're all set for a vote. Am I correct? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Okay, next item on the agenda. President's report, I have none, so in the interest of time, let's move to yours, Brittany.
I am just trying to see. Our next board meeting, I'm skipping all the way to 16, just again in the interest of time. Next board meeting is August 16th. So you may have noticed that the operating budget was not included here. That's because the Bridges Library Systems numbers will not be ready until tomorrow. That's when the board meets to formally adopt certain numbers. And I didn't want to provide the budget and then come up with all these what-if scenarios when it's not due to the city until after our August meeting anyway. So there was time to pause that conversation and waiting for those final numbers. Tracy, I did take we're going to be making those asterisks based on where those cooperative purchasing agreements will be, so you'll see that at the next meeting. You saw the total number of the Friends fundraiser, so that was huge.
Yes.
That was really, really great.
Do you know what they did last year?
I want to say it was in the 5,000. So
I was going to say 4s, but
yeah, so
fives.
this was huge, and it was just such a great community event. We saw so many people, so many companies, so much of everything, and it was just a really joyful day, despite the rain 2 years in a row.
I'd like to say it was a marvelous day. It really was.
Oh, thank you.
I've had nothing but positive comments. And people saying, how about my yard? So
Oh, if you pin them down, Nancy,
yeah,
if they say those words.
Yeah.
We have my positive impact story. We had a patron using our study rooms for the past couple of weeks because the internet just got cut to their house or something, and they were doing one of those fun phone calls with, their service provider that lasted for days and days, and they just couldn't get them to resolve it. So it was nice that they could work from home here. The in-service that we're going to be doing in November is going to focus completely on emergency response procedures. So I've been updating the procedures as they hadn't been looked at in a bit. And then the whole day is just going to be tornado, fire, power outage, what to do if the building's leaking, what to do if there's a lockdown or lockout. So CPR, things like that. So that's going to be, I think, really helpful for staff.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Will you include anything, because for Bay Lane, this is our place
Yep.
to go?
Absolutely.
So do you have something?
Yeah, we have that written up. The last time Bay Lane came by and did a tour and updated, I did update the staff then on it, but it'll be a perfect opportunity to go over that with them again. So yeah, that's an important. For those of you who don't know, we are an emergency evacuation site for Bay Lane. So in the event that Bay Lane would have to evacuate, they would bring the children here, and we would immediately shut down the library, kick everyone else out who's not related to the school, and then they would be in here, and then the school would coordinate where to go from there. So
The last time the Bay Lane kids here, remember it was pouring.
I know. All right.
I just need to mention, I think that I'll be in Germany on August 16th. So if there's anything you need from me before that time,
Okay.
okay?
You have excuses all the time, Nancy.
Yeah.
Germany. That's very exciting.
Alaska, Germany.
Yeah, I'm going to Alaska the first 2 weeks and Germany the
Oh, there you go.
Jet setter, that's who you are.
I have a couple of things, Brittany. Are we on schedule with RFID? A quick little progress report on that?
I mean, it's progressing. I didn't really have a set schedule
Yeah.
just because, we're
Are you comfortable with how things are moving?
Yeah, I am. It's working well. The computers are not glitching or doing anything weird. Staff feel comfortable with it. Many of them actually enjoy it. It's kind of soothing to do something sort of more repetitive. And yeah, it'll be
Okay,
exciting to
good.
fully implement it. So
How are they squeezing this in? Because they're still doing their jobs.
yeah, great question. So I set up parameters for full-time staff. The request is 2 hours a week, as you can find it. But of course, some people have busier weeks than others. So that's why I'm really taking this project sort of. There's no incentive beyond, now we can start using the great new technology. So I don't want to stress people out. And then for part-time staff, we do have a line item for $2,000 for overtime budget. And so the part-time staff, I'm giving them an extra 2 hours every pay period if they choose. They don't have to, because for them, finding an extra 2 hours, their hours are really tight. That wouldn't be possible. So
And the only other issue that I wanted to raise is The change in the domain name?
Yeah, yes. I have a new
Because
email.
that's right, that's difficult, for everyone to adjust to, but I'm
Yeah.
not seeing anything like, say, on the library page that, hey, our domain has changed or something like that. How are we letting people know? Because it's one thing to change, it's another
Yeah.
thing to inform.
Yeah, we haven't yet. So now that all the staff have been converted to it, now we're going to go through sort of a checklist of like, okay, what are all of our listservs? Where is this on our website? Where is this on our marketing? Where is this on our business cards? It'll forward for the next year, but that doesn't mean I obviously want to wait a year to change all that. The city is still in the process. I think most of the departments have changed, but not all of them. I don't know, Alderperson Schrader, has yours changed yet? Or are you still on cityofmuskego.org for your
I'm
email?
still sitting in
Okay. Yeah, so they're sort of midway through the process, but definitely.
Oh, I didn't realize, I thought it had already converted
Yeah,
here,
our
so,
department was
okay.
one of the first ones to go. But yeah, it'll be.
So does that mean
Something.
that the library's new website is http://www.muskego.wi.gov/library?
No, because actually what I should have said was the library's email domain has changed. So far, it has
not
nothing
the
to do with the
website.
website. It's
Not
just
the website.
email addresses.
Never
Yep.
mind.
So
Yeah,
that
it's-
probably will change at some point too. This is, I think, the first step. So we'll get there.
Yeah. The library's domain change occurred, so that's why I thought everything changed.
Yeah, it was just email, at least
Just
for now.
email.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Fit me into your address books, because a year from now it will stop working.
Well, maybe that's a good thing. Then nobody can get a hold of you.
Do you want me to ask a question about something that's not on your thing, or do you want me to wait for open comments?
If it's not in
Or new
if it's not a new business and it's not in the report, then it would have to wait until the end, and then it can really just be sort of like a brief, like, hey, can you look into this? It can't be a discussion with the board. It's just a general, like, hey, I'm going to be in Germany, or hey, can you look into X for me, something like that. So, but it can't be something that we have a discussion about because it's not on the agenda. So.
Right, no, but it's been on our agenda, and I just want to update, like you kind of want to update. So I didn't know, should I ask it now or wait?
I mean, yeah. If it's not part of the agenda, I don't think we can have that discussion.
It would be part of your, I would
Report.
guess, your report.
Is it in the report? Is it referenced?
I
in
would
the
want it. I would want you to put it into your report or say it's about our donation that we got, about the plant thing that we were going to have on the wall and stuff like that. Where are we at with
previous
that?
discussion.
The donation.
The glass wall.
Oh,
whatever. Am I right?
Yeah.
he and I have been playing email tag for
Okay.
a year.
Really?
Yep. And just know that I ironically emailed him again today, and he and I have been in more frequent communication. He's working on the etching right now.
Okay.
I know. I'm not happy
It's
with.
just like, I
I'm
don't
not
know if we
happy
should
with the
always have
timeline.
it in there or something, because it's an ongoing.
Yeah, but then the
Thing.
report would.
Can those of us who don't know hear about this?
I can put it in my report next time with a formal update. It's just a
Okay.
memorial gift that a
okay.
patron gave, and it's some stained glass. So,
Oh, okay.
and hopefully when we meet
It's just
next
like what
month.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, I had nothing new to update other than I emailed him a couple months go by. So the conversations have advanced, as has my tone. That's all I shall say.
All right.
All right. There you go.
Ever the diplomat. Okay, I think we can move on to unfinished business. There's nothing on the agenda, and we have to keep moving then. We go on to new business, which is a discussion and action potentially on the approval of the 2023 library capital budget. You're on, Brittany.
Sigh. So, the bathrooms.
The bathroom.
I'm going to bring up the photos for those of you who haven't been in there recently. So these are just some.
Yeah, it isn't any fun to go in there.
Yeah, they're like
not
you can
that
see
bad.
it. They're you can see like this is the grout when people haven't been walking on it because the lip goes up and creates like a baseboard, and then this is the grout that we cannot clean anymore. So are they functional? Yes. Are they are they functional for able-bodied individuals? Yes. Do they meet ADA standards? No. Are we grandfathered in by safe harbor law because these are 1991 ADA standards? Yes. Is that something to aspire to? No. So, there's certainly work that needs to be done. That's such a weird way to...
A little crazy.
Yeah.
I think they probably...
They were cutting around,
yeah.
So,
Oh, there's some of is that the bleach thing?
it's speckled all throughout. There must have been some cleaning solution that was done at some point. So, let me just sort of let me tell the tale, and then we can talk, because my conclusion to get to the end is I'm not happy with any option. Originally, for the past 5 years, we've had this $50,000 placeholder. The purpose of that was I originally intended these updates to be cosmetic in nature. I'm like, well, maybe we'll get a new countertop, maybe we'll take down the wallpaper and paint, do a few other things. But of course, as the years go by, the bathrooms continue to get grungier. And then we had our ADA scan done of the building, and it revealed some accessibility issues. So, for example, like the vanity. I'm sorry that this is not.
Let's stand on our next.
Yeah, I know. Let me see. I thought. Oh dear.
We can look this way.
I know. I was really hoping to just. Usually it has a. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
There we go. So this is not the appropriate height for current standards. This needs a door pill. The grab bars need to be repositioned. The drip deodorant needs to be repositioned. The paper towel dispensers and I don't know if I have a good photo of this. This.
Too high?
Actually, worse than that, it is in the incorrect location for maneuvering clearance, and it needs to be completely repositioned. And they're built into the cavity of the wall to an extent. So, it's not so simple as like, oh, I'll just rehang this on a different wall. Once you move it, there's going to be a hole-ish. So those are the types of problems that it's facing from an ADA perspective. So we have some grunge, which is livable. It's functional for able-bodied individuals. And then we have the ADA accessibility issues, which legally we're covered under, but it is something we need to address.
That's important.
So that's what happened. Now, the challenge, and Alderperson Trader, you weren't on council last year, correct?
No.
Okay. So the challenge is we do 5-year planning, and the point of that is so that we don't surprise anyone, right? We don't surprise ourselves with these big projects that are coming down the pipeline. We don't surprise the city with big projects. Well, the last number that we've all seen, right, up until recently is 50. So admittedly, 50,000 to now this 180,000 is enormous. And that's not all inflation. It's a scope change. But it's an adjustment. So that's the one challenge, is that we're taking, it's not the wrong decision to change the scope, but the question is sort of the timing of it and whether or not we and or the city needs more time to sort of, acknowledge that change in scope. So the scope was a big change. Inflation obviously did not help us, and they are projecting, I've talked to 2 different designers and architects, and they are projecting for any project done in 2023 related to construction to assume 15%. Now, they could be wrong. They don't have a crystal ball. But obviously that number is pretty big as well. So I'm just going to run through these 3 scenarios, and we can just sort of talk it out. And I have to apologize. I mean, right, the journey here to go from 50 to then talking to the architects and getting a better sense of what it would truly take got us to a verbal quote. I just said to her, give me a ballpark of 93,000. That's what strategic planning saw. And I said the final number will come in July. That's the number you guys saw in June was 93. Well, obviously 93 went to 180 real quick. So I'm not fond of the different numbers that we've been spiraling through. I know that that's a bit of a roller coaster, and I'm about to give you one more change.
Brittany, is there a why? Is this inflation or is this why? That's double.
Well, because, and I really don't want you to hold this against the architect. I just said, she walked through the bathrooms, right? She did it a walkthrough, and I said, ballpark. I said, I will not hold you to this number.
It's a swag.
And so she was like, 93, but I have to, that was before she talked with the HVAC people, the electricians, the plumbing. That was before all of that. And it's also before the soft costs of like builder's insurance and, engineering plans and all of that. So it really wasn't fair of me. I probably should have just told strategic planning TBD, right? Because that 93 ended up just not. It showed us that the cost for a complete renovation versus just cosmetic was higher than we thought at 50, but it certainly didn't indicate all of the different charges. So I think ultimately, if we can try to wrap our heads around it, it was this project used to be a $50,000 cosmetic plan, and now, given the ADA changes that we have to make at some point, it's going to be much more expensive because now it's a full renovation. And I'll go over these three scenarios with you. There are, of course, ways to save money, right? We could not change out the floor, right? Is the floor gross?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Should anyone ever put that much grout on a bathroom floor? No. But that could be a way we could save money, right? We could have them take out the old toilets and old partitions. Let me see if I can find that photo. Like this, and we could have them put them back in again. That saves us money. So if we want to sort of have those different conversations, certainly we can table this project. I can run some more scenarios and numbers and say, like, this is what it would take. One of the challenges is, obviously whatever money we put into it, we don't want to scrap the bathrooms and then 5 years later put more money into it, right? So we have to sort of think, this bathroom lasted us 22 years. What do we want to invest to make the bathroom so that we don't have to touch them again for a while? So
my bottom line is, price is never going to go down. Never. We'll never see it come the other way.
Do you get bids?
So
or is this one?
So this is an estimate based on architectural schematic renderings, and then what we would do. And so this is the estimate that they're giving us, what they think the project will cost, right? Because otherwise, I'm just guessing. Mm-hmm. Then yes, we would absolutely take the project to bid. It could come in lower than what their estimate is. Mm-hmm. So they're just giving this number so that we can go request the money, and then once the money's requested, then you take it to bid and see if you can get a taker for it. And it could be less.
They have to have 3.
I was going to say
I think they have to have 3. I think it's in the city.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just an estimate so that we know what to ask for. But then we would. It's not even. We have to get 3 quotes, but we actually legally have to take this to bid. So because this is a public construction project, so
Are
then
we going
would
to
do
see
that.
the renderings, like, so we can kind of see what it would look like if we did the whole thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have. They're nothing pretty, I would say. Because really, there's nothing pretty. There's no color.
Yeah, nothing
it's
to
just
see that way. Yeah, to get an idea what it would look like.
All the text here is the different changes of demoing all this stuff, and then, relocating the changing station, adjusting putting in the new partitions, relocating the grab bars, putting in the new vanity, lowering it down to ADA height, moving the paper towel and dispenser, which is in the maneuvering,
And
putting it
did
over
you
there.
get clarification? Those entries still need to be that big. Tracy and I were looking at those when we were
These.
walking. Yeah.
So I asked that question. I said, why? It's just a little weird. I've never seen it before. And it doesn't really save us anything because, of course, we need these 2 units here. Like, we can't make the bathrooms bigger. And what they said the purpose of these hallways is so that if someone is standing in the hallway, they can't see into the bathrooms.
As the door
It's a
opens and
privacy.
closes,
It's a
yeah.
privacy thing.
That makes sense.
Well, and this project is very plumbing heavy, which raises your costs too. I mean, it's not like you're knocking out a wall and painting and whatever, they're moving plumbing around, they're doing, and when you get into those kinds of things, I know the costs add up too, it's just.
Well, my point is still the cost is not gonna go down.
Well,
If we
it looks
don't do
like
it now-
everything's in this, mostly in the same place.
Yeah.
As far as the plumbing.
Yeah, so this bathroom here is where the largest changes have to occur. They have to move the sink from here to here, and they have to move this down. And then if we chose to do automatic faucets, and then there's like something that has to do with like the hot water system that requires something. I don't
Is
know.
that something we can, as a committee, put input in on the automatic? Because I know our schools, the batteries go like crazy. It's such a
Well, and they
huge
did that at
cost.
City Hall too. I'm not a big fan of those.
They actually did a health study, and they actually admit germs.
Oh, they admit.
That is
Wow.
ironic.
They
It's what we surveyed the
Yeah.
patrons about what they might want, like what they might want from the bathrooms, and they said automatic soap and automatic faucets was something that was interesting to them. Now, this quote doesn't actually do automatic paper towel dispensers, and we don't have air dryers. It's just
Are air dryers bad? I really like
No, that's
them.
what I'm saying. The
That's
air
okay.
dryers
They-
transmit.
Transmit.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
paper towel is better.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have automatic paper towels. You can just
and we don't, and we
Manually,
wouldn't. That's
yeah.
not part of the project.
But I think we
because then
have
there's
to
no
make-
batteries.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you do that twister one and the person before you twisted it, I mean, to me, that's a germ
Oh,
thing too.
It's a grab two hands and pull down.
Well, some of them
And,
have
Yeah,
that.
some of them have the hand.
Twist on the side,
Mhm.
where you have
I
to
just
get, if
think
it
our-
isn't down, you have to twist it.
Yeah, but they're twisting it after they've washed their hands.
You know, you have to twist it to get the towel to come
But they've
down.
already washed their
I was
hands.
just at the Golden Mass, twisting.
Yeah, well, you've washed your hands.
Yes, that's true, but.
So Tony, what was
But
your
the one
question?
that's
I
here,
think
you
with our
just grab the
beautiful
towel.
library,
There
I
isn't a
mean,
twist.
there's such a contrast to that bathroom. I'm embarrassed for us that we have this beautiful space. You've really done a nice job. Our board has done a nice job keeping us up to date. And you go in there, I mean, that's a gas station bathroom.
Oh, it's not that bad. I don't think it's that bad.
And
And
that's just
as
my
a
opinion,
realtor,
though.
I see how people, for very cheap, make things look. I mean, I'm not saying to cheap by any means, but there are ways you can. I mean, wallpaper falling down is not a huge
But
thing
you
to
have such
do.
high traffic there. I think it's different than a home bathroom, because there is a lot of traffic
Well,
in and out.
and it's got industrial wallpaper. It's not like that in a house. I agree, but
And what do they come to the library for? Certainly not just
yeah,
pee.
just to use the bathroom.
Well, no, we don't, but it sure is a really nice service if you've gotta go.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be the Taj
Taj
Mahal
Mahal, yeah,
in there
yeah.
by any means.
No, and this is not. I mean, I did not ask for.
And that's my concern. I think
Bidets.
because of, I just died with the supply chain issues and the this or that. I think they've just jacked up things so high and we're almost held hostage to it
Yep.
sometimes, but I would like to see them updated.
And the struggle really is, right? I mean, and I've had to go through this, and I'm still working my way through it. Is that we're looking at a different project than we were a couple of years ago, right? So that 50,000, it was always a dream, right? And like I said, I'm happy to speak more and go through scenarios. Like I can give you an example. If we were to reuse all the toilets.
I was gonna say you don't wanna put 22-year-old toilets back in there.
This is just an example. I mean, I kind of agree. Like, again, if we go forward with something, it is less expensive in the long term to do it all at once as opposed to like trying to be patches about it. But if we reused the existing toilet partitions and the existing toilets and urinals, it would save us about $20,000. That's not an insignificant.
That's a dent.
It's not an insignificant amount of money.
You can change the toilet seats.
Yeah, but
The
except
toilets-
my toilets are 22 years old and they're starting to not flush and you're having to take the top off and they need new insides, so.
It's my recommendation would be, I think we need to renovate the bathrooms fully, but it's acceptable certainly if we need to take more time and see what different types of cost savings could bring us. Like if you want me to go through and say, what would it cost if we, didn't do the automatic anything, but put new toilet partitions. Like I can sort of run those numbers. I have 3 broad scenarios of where savings are, but
Do you have to add the power to the doors for the handicapped people?
I asked about that, and believe it or not, those doors are accessible as long as they have the right resistance or lack of resistance. And actually, our doors don't. We have to do that, but we can adjust that with the manual tool. I was surprised about that too, because we actually have had a patron fall out of their wheelchair in the bathroom at one point. And I'm not saying it was because of that, but
So is there a high-rise toilet in the handicap? Or is that those little short things?
I don't know the answer to
'Cause
that.
I didn't go in that one.
I don't think it's high
I
rise.
went to the third
I
one.
think that they're all the same.
I mean, to me, those kid toilets are not fun.
No,
They're
they're
too
short.
low.
I just think like if you're gonna do it right. You don't want to chintz because that's just gonna not be good cost savings measures in the end. But I don't know if this time of the economy is just not great right now, and
Yeah.
maybe that timing just we have to hold off.
Or what if we did get bids and then we could see, because then we'd actually know numbers? Because we might be surprised, maybe she went high, I mean, who knows?
What were you thinking of for flooring? Just out of curiosity.
Something that was a larger, to reduce the grout, which makes it easier to clean, just a larger tile.
What about those poured floors?
You
The
should
larger
ask
larger tiles are more slippery. There's a slipping
Yeah.
issue when the
If you
tiles
get
are
the right
larger.
tile though, that's matty and not shiny.
Yeah, and we
Then it's
didn't
hard to
actually
clean.
get into the
Yeah.
specifics. They picked like sort of a material range, right? Like kind of like I did with the carpeting project. I said we didn't get down into picking like what type of finishes yet. They just made estimates based on a type of product, and then if the project got approved, certainly then we'd get further into those details of what types of floor we want. I mean, I'm certainly happy to, now that I have the plans, and the plans were frankly important to me because I kept trying to go to contractors and they were like, well, what do you want us to do? And here I am going, I don't know, put a new toilet in. Like, I don't have that skill. So now that we have these plans, which again, I didn't get until last Thursday, which is just how long it took me to go through this process. This was a journey and realization that I needed to talk to an architect and an engineer. Now that I have these plans, I could certainly go to some contractors and say, what would you charge me for this? What would you charge me for that? And see how those numbers match up. I mean, certainly the architects work with contractors all the time, so I would think they'd be fairly close. But we can take a year, and I can spend some more time investigating what contractors say about this. Because, Tracy, you are right. I want to do this right. I don't want to... I want to spend the amount of money it takes to make these bathrooms that last another 22 years, because we've been very good about that. This building lasted 22 years. We've made some investments in it, and now the changes that we've made will last another 22 years. I'm convinced of that. Everything we've done has been very durable. And, we have over 100,000 people that come through the library. Even if a quarter of them use the bathroom in a given year, that's a lot of flushes. So I'm absolutely happy to go back and do some more of that work.
You might want to give a call to Jeremiah, because we just renovated, I don't know how many bathrooms in
Yeah, I can
how many
absolutely.
different schools that
I
maybe
can absolutely.
he has.
And we have architects in
insights.
for, who are the architects we have in for our other committee, for the
Oh,
police
for the-
department?
Police department. They're very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
CJ Smith.
starts with a B, I can't remember.
Everything.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I need to talk to a general contractor
Right.
because I have the
Architecture's
plans.
already
Now I need
done,
to.
so-
Now I need to ask a general contractor, what would you charge?
But like
to
when you're
do
talking
this?
about
Well, CJ
flooring,
Smith is the general
like I know
contractor.
Jeremiah researched all the flooring that you possibly should have for bathrooms.
Yeah.
He would be a good resource to go, you know what,
Yeah.
go linoleum, don't put tile in, don't, I'm sure he's looked at everything and has a good idea of what
Yeah.
you can do to,
I can certainly
Save
talk
some
with him
time.
about
and
that.
then the staff bathroom, is that included in the cost?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
what does that bathroom look like?
it looks the same. It has the same finishes, the same wallpaper. It has a weird shower in it,
Oh,
which I would love to get removed.
Can't you eliminate that?
The shower?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Whoever
part of the
uses it,
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
cause you bike to work every day.
I mean, yeah, someone might. Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure that's what it was for.
Is there an option to maybe do like just women's one year and men's the next to
I love-
split?
I love that question, Tony. So you'll notice one of the options was to just do the family restroom. So I talked with the city attorney and I said, safe harbor law, again, right now says we are covered because of by safe harbor. We don't have to make any changes, but ADA law, once you start renovating, you need to do it to standards.
Right.
Now, what the city attorney said is we could just do the family restroom because it shows no discrimination. Anyone can go in it. If we decided to just do the women's restroom, it shows discrimination, or if we decided to just do the men's restroom. So the only one that we could do, but we would have to do in its entirety, right, is the family restroom, or we do them all. And what he also told me, because initially I thought, well, maybe we can just get that, $67,000, do the family restroom, so at least we have one ADA accessible, nice bathroom, and then just do some small things. Just improve the lighting, get the old wallpaper gone, and then it can be phase 2 down the road. And what he told me is that we can't do anything structural to the other bathrooms or it violates the safe harbor. So we can't do anything in the bathrooms related to plumbing, electrical, HVAC, building, tearing down, any of that. Basically, I could remove the wallpaper and paint in those bathrooms. Otherwise, the rest, anything that's structural, we would have to completely renovate them because we're not in compliance with ADA
And I
laws.
assume that you would also have to get a second set of permits, second set of soft costs, all of those kinds of
Yes,
things also.
thank you, Gail. So the challenge and the reason why I'm grumpy at the thought of just doing the family restroom is that the soft costs for everything that Gail just said, the engineering paperwork, the permits, the builder's risk insurance, all those kinds of things, we'd have to spend that same amount of money, which is about $20,000, again when we do the next set of bathrooms. And obviously that type of redundant cost or repeated cost is repulsive. So that's not a thrilling option. So when I said I didn't like any of these options, I really don't. I mean, I'm not happy that things cost what they cost. Obviously, I would like it to be cheaper. I'm not happy with the thought of having redundant soft costs by just doing the family restroom. And obviously deferring it has its own potential issues as well.
Well, one of the things that we really haven't discussed here yet too, because we're not even sure even what number you would put in the capital budget if the Common Council would accept it, okay?
Well,
So that's a consideration also. If there's something we really want to do, we have to make sure that it's something that the Common Council will be not necessarily comfortable with, but understand. So, if you go in with the option 2 and it's such a big difference, might it be turned down? See, that's
Oh, yeah. I
and
mean,
so then
that's-
we would have 100% of nothing, as my dad used
Right.
to say. So I don't know how we deal with that. I don't know if Deb, do you have any suggestions or anything like that? We want to be prudent and as frugal as we can be, but it
Well-
has to get accepted at the same time.
One of the benefits of waiting a year is that then I can go before council. It's not like, hey, give me all this money in 2023. It's slated in 2024. And then I have time to say, just so you know, the scope of the project changed. We're moving it to 2024. And at least there's some breathing room to sort of evaluate that scope change.
And then would you change the cost from 50 to 185, 120, or what would you do at that
I would
stage?
actually change it to 203,000 because, and here's the final sledgehammer. I talked with the architect yesterday, and she said the prices that I gave you are based on if you did the project right now, and
Add 15%.
both architects
I just
I've
said
talked to
it
said
never will
add
go down.
15%.
Yeah.
And so now inflation may not keep jumping up 15% every year, right? But it's more like 204,000 that we would need to ask for next year. So I am happy to keep working on this. It's a big project. I'm happy to keep going back at it. Barb, you had a question?
No, I said on the radio, I heard the guru or whatever said lumber prices are coming down now and a lot of the
Yeah.
material costs are coming down for home builders, so.
Well,
Well,
maybe
it'll
things
keep
will
coming
come down when
down.
people can't do it anymore. I mean, I think that's probably, we're all paying the piper right now. I mean, we're paying the food prices, we're paying all the other prices, but at some point people are gonna say, I can't anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe the marketplace will make these prices drop, but I don't think they're going to drop appreciably
No, I don't
where we're gonna be
think so.
back down to what we used to know pre-pandemic. But, who has a crystal ball? I don't.
So what if I put 204,000 in for 2024? It gives me a year to investigate some of these prices. I can talk to people like Jeremiah. I can actually present these plans to contractors to get and see if these numbers actually line up or less or more than what the architect is anticipating. And
Would you bid it out this year too, just to see how?
no, I don't want to go through that bid process
Right,
unless
I
I have
understand,
money
but
in
we don't
hand.
really know how artificial or how accurate though.
I mean, I would get
204
She's
is.
gonna talk to the
quotes.
contractor.
I would
She'll
get formal quotes, but I wouldn't take it to bid because the bid process is a very formal.
How would you get formal quotes? Forgive me, I must have missed that.
You just call a contractor and say, "Hey, here are the plans. What would it cost to do this?" And then they give me a number. Whereas the bid process, you have to submit bid
Oh, I know you have to
paperwork,
be
you
out
have to
there, I
publish, you have
understand, I do understand that,
So
but how
I-
is that different? But anyway,
Well, that's
whatever.
one's a guesstimate, right?
Well, they're both.
No, they
Basically-
still put in the same amount of work, I would think, that's why I'm.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
mean,
think so?
I think the
Okay.
bid process would be they would do
the
more
bid's
work.
more involved
Yeah.
and detailed.
Yeah.
And
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we have the roof project slated for
I know.
pretty soon, a couple
I
years.
know, Carrie, I know.
I
Yeah.
think the roof is probably
And the asphalt.
pretty important also.
Well, so here's
Would
the.
that possibly conflict with this project?
That's a great question. So the reason why I wanted the bathrooms next year was because I have been trying to space out the three big projects, right, that we've had coming up. The bathrooms, which ended up being bigger than I could have ever imagined, the parking lot in 2024, and the roof in 2025. Those numbers, again, I got those numbers several years ago too. So I don't even know if those numbers are accurate anymore. I have to get them obviously
They're
redone.
not.
I
I can
Yeah.
guarantee
Right.
you they're not.
But so yeah, it would not be ideal, obviously, to slate two really large projects like that in the same year, because not only from a staff management perspective and a patron disruption perspective, but then you're going to council and saying, "I want this piece of the pie," when really they try to even out, things amongst the department. But also keep in mind, and that's why it's in my goals this year to talk and get a revised quote for the parking lot and the roof repair. I slated those in those years based on somebody who walked the roof and said, "Yeah, you probably got this many years left." It's possible, it may not have to go in 2025. It possibly could push out. Trying to anticipate. Same with the parking lot. It's not great, but it doesn't have sinkholes in it yet. So, and that was based on, okay, the parking lot it'll be 24 years old by the time we get to 2024, and we've asphalted it a couple times at a time to just completely redo it. But we might get to next year and go, you know what? I think we can push that out. I anticipate we might be able to get another year out of our parking lot, but then it's against the roof, but maybe, so I don't have a crystal ball. But yes, to answer your question, I would not want to burden the city and or the staff and the patrons by having two of those really big, really expensive projects in the same year if I could help it.
You know what's kind of sad is that, like when we do projects at St. Leonard's, we put the call out there and say, who would like to help us and donate their time and put it in, and how, our costs have been decreased by like 50% because people donate their time and do the work. Can you do that in the city? Like why?
School district you can't.
I know, the
It's
school district
OSHA.
you can't, yeah.
I would think this would be OSHA
Would that
issues
fall
too.
under it?
I could ask the city attorney, but I think the challenge, of course, is that work is not guaranteed if something goes wrong with it or if it breaks or,
I don't think it would fit under the same auspices as.
My
Because
church
there's
has
still,
similar practices,
yeah.
but I
Church is a lot different than.
I just wonder what
That's a
if
good
there's
question.
what if there's a
And like I
contractor
said,
that's
like I was
like,
saying before,
I
like
wanna
my
get back to
brain
the
is
city.
thinking, I'm just glancing at these plans, but the bathroom is basically gonna look the same as it looks now
oh yeah.
for all this money. It's gonna have updates to ADA, and it's gonna have wallpaper fixed and new tile and grout, but everything's gonna almost be in the same place. And for when you see it all for 100 or 204,000,
What'd you get?
you're gonna be like, this is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? There are other ways to make this bathroom last longer and look nicer without spending $200,000. That's just off the top of my head gut, because if you're thinking it's gonna look like this beautiful, amazing bathroom,
Oh,
it's not. It's gonna
I
look
don't think
pretty
so.
much as dull and drab as it looks right now.
Well, it's gonna
But the
be
wallpaper is
updated.
gonna be
I-
good,
I wonder
and
though.
the dispenser's gonna be good, and the sink's gonna be lower. There's gonna be.
The ones at the high school were older. They're from 1950s. But when they renovated those, I was like, holy cow. Like, it helped tremendously with the way it flowed and
But if you're looking at it,
but I know
it's
that looks
exactly
the same.
They're gonna be moving a few things. You were talking about the family bathroom, moving the.
Mhm.
But if this is the main bathroom, it's gonna have the exact same layout, except the sinks are gonna be lower, is my understanding.
sinks
then-
are lower, the grab bars are changed, the toilet
That's
partitions.
something that you could do. To have to replace everything, I guess, like I said, I feel like
Is it
It's overkill.
Is it in the labor or is it in the product?
And you'd be surprised too. I know you are worried about that grout. You could have it regrouted. You could have a high-powered cleaning company come in and clean.
We did
and-
that already.
and-
That didn't
But
work.
you could have it regrouted.
We could. Yeah.
There are
But we
ways.
did have some issues like with Mill Valley, cause we added on, and the older took more money and expense
Well, I'm
to bring it up,
Sure,
so.
when you're retrofitting things, certainly, but I guess, again, just looking at the plans, not like we're taking down walls or really changing anything, it's just gonna be swapping out for new stuff that looks almost exactly the same for $200,000. It's, to me.
I've been in the city
That's
hall
just-
bathrooms. I think that, aside from the accessibility, I personally think that the the aesthetic changes coupled with the functional changes of the ADA accessibility will really, and the improved lighting, will really make the bathrooms feel, have greater dignity and a greater feeling to it. But I hear what you're saying. You're doing a cost-benefit analysis of that against the cost. So
Well, we're not gonna be putting marble floors in like they have at City Hall. I'm just telling you, it's gonna be pretty much the same things that are in there now. It's just gonna be 20 years newer. And in a couple years, it's gonna look like it does now.
I think it probably took 22 years to get
Well,
to this point.
Again, like I'm saying, there are
But I hear what you're saying, and like I said, I'm
ways
happy.
to make this bathroom look nice and be functional without opening cans of worms for. And you're gonna get it to last for another 20. It'll last another 20
I
years
care.
too. I guess that's just my
okay.
gut. I feel like it's.
If I may, you're saying that there are ways to do this. Is there a company that tells us these ways to do this? Or, you know, I mean, like, should we be talking to a renovation expert instead of an architect? I mean, because I understand your point, but I don't know how to get there then, unless you
Well,
provide that information.
If I'm understanding right, once you start doing a whole bunch of renovations, you've got to do it all. You're opening a can of worms too.
That's correct.
So once you start moving things and
I can't change anything in these bathrooms except basically paint.
well, you can do wallpaper.
Right, we
You
can
could do-
remove the wallpaper and paint.
You could do grout or flooring.
Probably. I'd have
You
to.
could probably, if you needed to, replace the vanities.
I don't think so. When I talked to him,
No,
he said
that's
that would be
structural.
considered structural.
That's structural.
Changing the toilet
If you don't-
partitions.
Change the height on it.
Well, we'd have to change the height though.
If you just swapped out the vanity, you'd have to change the height.
I think they would consider that structural, even if it's just a swap.
I think you read a list and it was pretty,
I think so, I think
just
I
about
read that,
everything.
yeah.
Lighting is structural, all of that.
Well, again, I was just in there with Tracy. The only thing that seemed non-functional to me was the soap dispenser. Everything seems to be functional. It's not like things are overflowing and falling apart and not.
It's dingy but functional for able-bodied people. But it doesn't meet the ADA standards. That's the truth. And so when we are ready to address it, and again, we don't have to be ready to address it this year, but when we are, there are certain things that, you know, we will have to change, and we can't make any of those other remediations without doing all the things on that punch list. So
Well, and I think the hard part also is, Deb is totally correct, things aren't overflowing or, you know, whatever, but then Barb says her toilets are not working, you know, so
I kind
how
of thought
long
the
do
toilet was
we,
really good.
how long do we?
oh, they're probably
thought-
super flushers from
I would
2000.
guess I'm-
How
that's
long
better
do we wait to get into a situation where
I'm
things
of
are
the
overflowing?
mentality of if it's not broke, don't fix it. I guess.
Mhm.
I mean, again, everything seems to be functioning, but aesthetically, it's not pretty. It is
Well,
basically where we're at, and it's not ADA compliant, but we are grandfathered in. So to me, go ahead and do then. You had the 50 budgeted. Go ahead and do the 67,000. Do the 88 to the ones. At least have that for some people that need it, and then fix the other bathrooms to be cleaner, nicer in aesthetic, but they're still functioning. I
Okay,
guess,
so you're suggesting request the 67,000 to completely redo the family restroom, and then what we're legally allowed to change
in the other ones.
in the other, which
Because they're basically going to be the same except brand new things, which, I guess we're wants and needs, I guess is where I'm at with it too.
I don't think the restrooms match the rest of the library. The rest of the library looks very innovative, streamlined, user-friendly, and the restrooms just look dingy.
But they're still going to look pretty similar. It's just going to be more.
They're gonna be clean.
They're going to be clean.
Yeah, they'll look
But it's
clean.
going to be this. It's going to be the same type of things. It's
Yeah, but they can't be brighter, for an example, because of the ADA
Well,
structural issues.
Yeah, I mean, if we did the renovation, then there would be brighter and improved lighting.
Right, but you can't do
But
that
not-
under
yeah.
the $67,000
Think about when
plan.
we did our bathroom at our other house, the big bathroom. We just put in a new countertop and a new vanity, a new floor, new lighting. It was the same bathroom, but it was a different bathroom, and everybody loved it compared to the old one.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you can do a few things.
I don't think you can
No.
according to their.
Well, there are
rules.
some things you can do.
Yeah,
Very
that's the
few, do you have the
problem.
list?
Because I would
Where
love
you
to just
cannot do what the
renovate, just
attorney
do a
said?
little renovation, but I don't think you can. Because then
So
all
why
of a
don't
sudden
you
you're.
check that
I
out?
think we should do a
Yes,
little more
I think
research
they
into
will
what we
say it, the
could
attorney,
do.
I think you
the
could
attorney
tear
gave
that
her a
wallpaper
list
down.
of what the
Yes.
structural things were. She
Yeah,
read it
that's
and
what you do when you
they
sell a
said,
house.
"You
If you
can't
get that
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
that would help
If you could get what done?
the wallpaper.
The wallpaper.
Well, that's what I'm
Falling
saying,
down.
just
Yeah, what-
I go into houses to sell houses, just changing the paint color in a
Yeah.
room
Yeah.
makes a house.
Makes a huge
makes it
difference, Kim.
look-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this wallpaper is peeling up, so.
Well, like I said, things like the wallpaper, I think we could probably change out, and regrouting,
Those two things I think we could do.
Your eye always goes to the imperfections, and you don't notice the other things, right? I mean, you're.
well, I will tell you too, for renovating, you change one thing too much and it makes everything else look bad.
Mhm.
You know, when you get the one new appliance, everything else looks.
That's kind of what I said long ago about the children's
So-
area, because then the YA didn't look as nice, so, you know, you march around the whole.
Again, like I said, I'm just looking at I feel like it's gonna look, for the money, it's gonna look about the same, maybe a little brighter, but I think for the money, there are smarter ways to do it. And I don't think there would be cheap out ways, but the things are functioning,
Who do we talk to find out what those
That's just-
smarter ways are?
bouncing ideas around.
Yeah.
That's, I'm not discounting it, I'm saying, but there's gotta be maybe somebody who could help us with that. I don't know who, if there's like a renovation expert
Well,
and they,
if you had your, if you have a list of what can be done without opening a can of worms, and we could kind of look at, and like Tracy was saying, Jeremiah Johnson has done
Yeah, I can certainly
several
talk
of
with
these.
them.
He'd
yeah,
be
well,
probably
maybe
a
he's the
great
guy to
resource
talk
to
to then.
Yeah, he'll do it for free. I mean, he would
come over and take a look at
He'd
it.
come, he'd be like, oh yeah, shoot,
And is he a
after.
school
It's not Robert Redford, is
employee
it?
or is he a?
He's not.
Yeah,
And I
he's
hear
the
others
director.
saying
Building
too about the
science.
library so nice, and
Yeah.
but
Alright,
I'm
so
telling you,
we've got a motion on the
bathrooms
floor
don't look
here,
almost
just
the
to
same.
bring us back here a little
For all
bit,
it's nice,
discussion
and
action on
sort of
approval of the
industrial
2023 library capital
drab.
budget, that's what's on the floor
You know what I
right
mean?
now.
Maybe
So,
not brand
Right,
new.
so we
Well-
spent quite a bit of time talking about the bathrooms. The other project slated for 2023 is the study rooms. Those were originally at around 50,000, and then I took the 15%, and we also need to put fire suppression in those rooms, so that added about 4,500, and then I did the 15% inflation. She gave me a range. She's an architect, but she's also a contractor. They do both. So again, I would probably have to take this project to bid, but the estimate on the low end it would be 53,000. On the high end it would be 72,000. So because these study rooms are bare bones, I mean they're walls, they're doors, it's a ceiling, it's the fire suppression, and it's the electrical outlets to make 3 more study rooms. I feel like I would have to give the high end of the range so
is there
that
HVAC involved with that too?
yes,
Yeah.
So because I don't, any one part of that would ruin the function of the room. Like, oh, sorry, there's no HVAC in here. Enjoy
Yeah.
suffocating, or there's no fire suppression. Sorry, you can't use the rooms. You can just look at them. They're not to code. So it's possible that project will be cheaper than the 72,000 by anywhere from 55 to 62,000. But I had to do the 15%, and I picked the high end of her range to do that off of. So.
May I ask why 3?
Yeah, because the corner where we have space, which is to the left of the
Yes,
other
I
study
know.
rooms, that's what can fit 3 larger study rooms. So.
And my question is, how often are they used, or is this something that you've done a study on that you have the need for 3 more?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so in the background document, packet page 18, we did a formal needs assessment report to verify the needs for the projects. And then we went over the strategic planning feedback from 2019. We did a patron survey in each of the study rooms. So we taped up big survey sheets, and we said, ask them 3 questions about the study rooms. Do you want more? Have you ever tried to get to these study rooms and you couldn't because they were booked? And then what value do you place in them? So they answered all those collections. And then we did an observational study where staff walked by every hour to see how often they were completely full, which did happen. And so we took all of that data, and in strategic planning, we talked about whether or not the project should move forward. Strategic planning said, yep, this project seems like a value. So that's why it came as an example at the June meeting, and then now here it is at the July meeting. And like I said, $50,000 was that estimate before inflation and fire suppression. And I picked the high end of her estimate and added the inflation and the fire suppression, and that's how it got to 72.
Oh, isn't that something that can be pushed down the line? I mean, it's not. People who did the survey a year or 2 ago probably are graduated and gone, so you have new people using it.
So this survey was from 2022.
Okay.
Very
Yeah.
recent, yeah.
We did it this year.
But could you move that down if we feel the bathrooms are more important?
Yes. So I mean, basically when patrons come in and they say, I would really love a private study room for a Zoom meeting, to have my exam proctored, to tutor, to meet with my state representative, all those different reasons are reasons why people use the study rooms. If they're all full, we just tell them, I'm sorry, you can either pay $25 to use one of the public meeting rooms, because that would be considered private use, or they can find a different space in the library. Hopefully there's a quiet corner somewhere. Now, obviously, for some of those reasons, like if they're meeting with their social worker, or if they're meeting with their state representative, or they're proctoring exam, a lot of times they want that private room. But could it be pushed aside? It could.
Well, I was gonna say, how often does that happen? I mean, again, we're in needs and wants. I hear they want this, but
Yeah.
how often is there a waiting line for the
So
rooms?
when
and people,
I did the study,
just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so we did the study in summer, which is admittedly a bit of a quieter time, but I would say at least 3 or 4 hours a day, the study rooms were completely full. In the fall, they tend to be even more full because the teens will come in, especially between the hours of like 3 to 6
After
o'clock.
school, yeah.
So is it an on fire need? No. Would it be valuable to the patrons? Yes. So I think it's certainly a project worth pursuing. If the city were to say to me, you get to pick between the bathroom and the study rooms, I mean, certainly the bathroom would provide, that ADA functionality. But I do think based on the feedback, it is at least a project worth
I
asking
lean
for.
towards doing option 1 on the bathrooms, and then the study rooms, and you're under $200,000, and you're getting.
touch the big bathrooms or the other.
No, but I didn't say not touch them, but find out what you can do with them.
Yeah.
Realistically, to refurbish them a little without opening any cans of worms, and you're still under the 200,000, and you've made your bathrooms nicer, and you've filled the need of having more. Again, we can want
Yeah, right.
everything,
And privacy can be built in with a standing carrel as well, a folding standing carrel where people could be behind, like over where we meet for friends.
Yep.
There's several spaces there.
Yep, there are nice spaces. Yeah,
that we could put up. I don't know
Like
what you call those.
temporary,
I don't know
like-
what you call those. But
Yeah, we have room
folding
dividers, but people who want a study room, they're like, I'm gonna be,
Like my daughter used it for an interview for college and stuff.
Well,
and
yeah, I
don't
get
think
that.
we
I
can
get
have
that.
it be where
But
it's
there
not
are some-
soundproof.
There are some situations, I think, where a couple of those would work.
yeah. I mean, we do have other seated spaces. like I said, that we ran a bunch of different statistics, different usage studies. I do think that it would be of value.
I know my daughter used them too. Samina used them all the time, but is there, you sign up for them, or is it first come, first serve? I'm not familiar.
It is first come, first serve. However, 2 times a month, patrons can reserve the study rooms. As you know, and we tried to make that accommodation because people were wanting assurances that they could have a room
Which
for a
makes
meeting.
sense that it should be on a reserve.
And our
type of-
our hope is, well, and we didn't want to make it completely reservable because we want people to have a fair and varied chance at them, and otherwise they'd get eaten up by tutors. And you just
So
have,
you're saying there's a lot of recidivism, so that
Mhm.
same people are using them over.
yes, I would say there definitely is recidivism. And the nice thing is if we get more study rooms, then I think instead of only letting people twice a month use it, we could probably expand that
Yeah.
because we'd be adding 3 more rooms.
You know what, I'm not even 100% sure we do have a motion on the floor.
No,
think
I
we
just
just-
started
we just said
talking. I
discussion,
just
action,
started
yes.
talking again.
So, in order to move this along,
Which year would this be in? Which capital budget?
2023.
23, okay.
Yeah. The other projects are further on.
on the scenario that Deb is suggesting, the option 1 and the study rooms, the question that I want to ask, but I don't know if I need a motion before, we'll just keep with the discussion, is what are the downsides to that? The downsides would be soft costs on the bathrooms, the male and female bathrooms, if and when we decide to do them, depending on how the cosmetic improvements look,
Correct.
okay? What else?
Just the thought that if the project were to be done in its entirety, it probably won't get any cheaper.
Okay,
But if the project was not going to be approached in its entirety, then
and is there anyone who comes to the library, for an example, that would say, oh, you put lights into the bathroom and you're in violation of the ADA? Could a patron say something like that? I mean, how might, and what is the penalty if you, do you even know if you do something structural? I mean, what,
I
like
would
lights
not.
for an
I would
example,
not
I mean,
dare in a
Yeah,
public
why would we
building.
have that? We wouldn't do something like that.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
yeah.
I'm just curious.
I don't think I would. I'm sure you could get sued and have
think so.
litigation
For lights?
against you.
I agree. I think
If you're found in violation of ADA law,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm sure there's very stiff litigation and penalties.
Would there be a problem with just adding more lights? Not like taking away or like.
I mean, I think you could.
They'd have to put-
Yeah, I think you could change out a bulb,
Well, I was
but
gonna
I don't
say
think
you
you
could
could.
put brighter bulb. You could put different bulbs in.
I don't think you could
That's why
change
I'm
the
asking this.
fixture. I
just
don't
see
think
there's
you-
other ways.
We
I
just
don't-
need to do a little more research, I think,
Mhm.
to
So
have a
is
comfortable
there a
idea.
way, I mean, not to put it out for bid, but to get a contractor or two to come in and get an estimate?
That's
Yeah,
why
that's
I
what she
keep
said.
asking,
Right.
who do we talk to?
Yeah,
There's
I
gotta be like,
Yep.
She would.
because to me, if you're not changing the ballast or you're not changing the light, what is the structural problem about changing a fixture and a bulb? That's kind of I wanna get down to the
Yeah.
kind of nitty gritty
I
about
can
that, maybe
certainly
I
talk to
stated it
this-
the wrong way, but.
I can talk to the city attorney about the nitty gritty. I can talk to Jeremiah. I can
Mhm.
talk to the contractors and see that comparison. So there's absolutely.
So if you got the same
more
holes
we
coming
can
out
do.
of the ceiling and you haven't made that structural change,
Yeah.
can you make the aesthetic change?
Yeah, I would have to.
That's kind of
Well,
what
'cause
I've said it
wondering,
wrong, but that's what I'm
20 years
trying to
ago,
ask.
did they have faucets that were, cause the ones that you got in there now activate with sensors. Do you think they had that 20 years ago? I doubt it. So they definitely replaced,
That vanity.
well, not the
Or
vanity,
the
but at
sinks.
least just the
The fixtures.
faucet.
The faucets activate with sensors.
Yeah, underneath you just go like this and it turns on. I didn't turn any knobs.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What? I mean,
I didn't touch anything. I was
I'm
yeah.
trying to remember that. Huh. All right.
But I'm thinking that they
Tony's
probably
gotta go
updated
at-
it.
Okay. Sorry. No, it's
6:18
okay.
for Tony.
Is it okay?
Oh yeah, gosh, we did share.
And Carrie
Yeah,
was
I have
about
another.
6
I have to go
o'clock.
to another meeting for the festival committee.
All right. So.
Because I'm trying to get this, because you need to
Yeah.
have these capital
So,
budget items
Yeah,
done.
so I guess we need a motion on the floor, and we've talked about a lot of things. Just so does someone want to motion something, whether it's the just doing
What
the
did
family?
we have on the docket already for the bathrooms? 50?
Last
50?
year it was 50,000 for the bathrooms and 50,000 for the study rooms.
Okay.
But don't you have to bump up option one another 15% too, also?
She has 3,000 on for inflation.
Yeah,
or
but she said
3%.
15
Yeah,
on the option two, 15%,
So the architect told me, so I had done 3% on the total number, but she actually told me I only needed to do the percent increase on the construction cost, not the soft cost. So when I redid that math, it ended up just being 67,000 would be good. I think it's actually like 65.5. So add a little bit of breathing room in, 67,000 would probably be enough to cover that.
So we're at a quorum, are you adding me? We're at a quorum.
No, we're at a
without me, right?
quorum.
Because we have five.
Yep.
No, I have another thing. You said you'd save $20,000 if you didn't replace the toilets. That's like $2,000 a toilet. I don't know, why are those toilets so expensive?
I mean, it's probably the toilet and
And I
also
did
the
that for
plumbing
10.
into the wall, and that's my
Well,
guess.
isn't the plumbing still there? I mean, the plumbing you're just replacing, right?
I think it depends on how they hook up into the piping.
Honestly, the
We gotta get to it, but people have to
Okay.
leave,
Yeah.
so we need to do something here so she can do
Yeah.
what she needs to
So so it sounds like
Well, you want me to make a motion for what I?
sure. Yeah, why don't you do that, and then
Yeah.
we'll see what people think.
Okay. So I'm making a motion to potentially go for option one with the bathroom renovation, doing the family bathrooms to ADA compliance, and then doing some upgrades that are allowable to keep with not having to do any ADA in the other bathrooms, correct? Without opening and getting all the information on what we can actually do to the other bathrooms to spruce them up.
Yeah, like remove wallpaper or something like
and-
that.
and-
And potentially, like, we're talking light fixtures, again, just getting clarification.
it.
And to be clear, though, just so you know, the 67,000 would be to do the complete renovation of the family restroom. All that other stuff you're talking about would be further investigation and
above and beyond.
operational.
Correct.
Because I don't think we'd have any extra money to do all those other things, because the 67,000 will cover just the family restroom. So if we wanted to try to cover a few other, I don't even think it'd be smart to put it in the capital budget. I think that other stuff is operational costs. If we're just sprucing up the wallpaper,
Okay.
or otherwise,
Gotta back up the motion now. Redo the motion.
if we want to make room for some sprucing, then it has to be more than 67,000. I think.
Right, I see where you're coming from, okay.
Well, and we don't have,
Maybe not. Maybe not. Nope. Stick it at 67,000. Period. And then whatever we're legally allowed to do.
Okay, but then you have with 3% inflation though, so do you wanna bump that number?
I would, instead of pointing to that, I would say I would move to approve $67,000 for the
Right.
capital bathroom project. That's what I would say.
Sorry, I thought the other, because the study rooms were 72. I thought 72 was.
Also,
the bathrooms.
would there be any reason to perhaps call this particular motion phase one of the bathroom renovation? So council would be aware that there may be a phase two, maybe not?
So I actually don't think we need all that detail, because we know what work we need to do, and you'll tell me that. But for the purposes of the agenda item, it's just library capital budget 2023. So all we need to do in the motion is what is going to be in the 2023 capital budget. So if you move to approve
So we
$67,000 for the bathrooms and $72,000 for the study rooms, that's the motion. And then all those other details are
But I
things that
think
I'll.
it should be like 75 for the bathroom, just in case we need to pay for wallpaper or whatever else.
well, that's why I didn't put a total amount on that, because I said whatever we can do to the other one, the other bathrooms, that's.
So we don't have.
I feel like
we
that
don't.
should be with the bathroom renovation, not operational. I feel like that should be part of this.
As long as the city attorney is comfortable putting those expenses into this larger capital project, I will talk to him
Well, it
about.
would just be called the bathroom project,
Right.
and it would be
As
a
long as
little
he's
renovation on the
and-
main bathrooms to spruce
as long as he's comfortable with it, I'm fine with
And
that, obviously.
the ADA compliancy and renovation of the family bathroom.
Yeah, as long as he's comfortable with that.
I don't really wanna vote on this till I have more information on the
Well, and
costs. Do you have to do this tonight?
yes, the capital budgets are,
That's why I'm,
So we'll say,
So
put
trying
the
to
amount
push
at
here.
75,
75 and
75,000 and 75,000 for the rooms, the study rooms. Making a motion.
I second.
the motion on the floor is for your capital budget expenditures, looking at 75,000 for the meeting rooms and 75,000 for the bathroom project.
Correct.
Right.
And then it can be moved around.
And we just,
You could probably get someone to do the tile cleaning too. I know my husband's done
Tile
stuff
cleaning.
like that.
well, and now that we have a motion on the floor and we know what we're gonna do, then I think Brittany has better marching orders
Yeah,
to know
yeah.
what
Yeah.
we need to do. So
Yeah.
that's the motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
Yes, I really don't wanna spend extra soft costs and everything by doing this
I
piecemeal.
know, that's the major
That to me is
downside.
ridiculous.
But the other side of it is, maybe we won't be doing
It
the
could be 20
bathrooms for a
years
while. The
before
other
you're
two,
having to
I
do
don't,
anything.
because we don't know what the family bathroom is going to
Maybe
look
one
like.
time.
It could
We
be a
don't know
one-time.
what the potential
Toilet flush.
improvements will be on the men's and
We have
women's
to do
rooms.
the family bathroom?
That's what.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's the,
Well, that helps.
That-
that, at least the
person.
handicapped
Yes.
people.
Then
Because
we
if a
have that.
handicapped person is struggling to, they fell out, on God forbid, trying to get toilet, like the paper towel off because it's on the wrong side of where they're,
Able to reach
I
with their,
feel like
Don't
that's-
forget to add in a sign above that people who are, this is not.
And they might have kids, that's the
bathroom
other
for
thing.
handicapped
Yeah.
people.
well, that's why it's the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, changing
And maybe it's
diapers
full.
and stuff like that.
That happens too.
Well, that could always happen if there's too many people in the library. The study rooms are full, the bathroom's full, you have to wait a minute.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Tracy.
Yeah.
Tracy? Should we take
Sorry.
all those in favor or?
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can I oppose?
And Barb opposes.
I
oh no, and
oppose.
so did Phyllis. Okay, so.
Yeah, that's why typically you then straw poll it, but anyway, we got it this way, so, Phyllis, we have three, four, I don't vote. 3 and 3 to 2,
Why do you not vote?
because I'm not supposed to, in fact, I
Unless there's a
have,
tie?
we're learning more about whether I can or not, because Aaron did not vote.
Aaron never
So-
voted. I don't know if you
Why?
guys ever noticed. He never voted unless there was a tie, and then he would vote. Robert's Rules of Order talks a bit about impartiality in the chairperson. It's not an obligation, so that's actually up to Gail, and it was up to Aaron whether or not they wanted to vote in every meeting or just vote in tide changing votes or to break ties. And so Gail
Because
can.
my role is not to even advocate a position in
Well,
this role, so.
no.
Oh, you're on the board and you have.
Yeah.
to
No,
vote.
understood, but
So,
that's,
I
I'm
mean-
also presiding over the meeting, that's my main
Yeah, but I
job.
would think you
Yeah,
would
but
have,
anybody
I
can
would
do
think
that.
you would have a vote.
And that's up to Gail, and she can decide.
That's what I'm
I
learning
mean,
more
she's
about right
she's gonna
now,
research
so
more, but
I'm
that's certainly
researching
up to
more
her.
of that to decide.
Chris always votes at every one of our meetings.
So, on that note, it still passes 3 to 2.
All right, one
Okay.
down.
All right, so then on the next item. Discussion and action approval of library board certificate. Oops, did I skip one? I skipped one, yikes. Discussion and action approval of public comments at library board meetings policy, the second read. Hey Brittany, go ahead.
I made a few changes based on feedback from the board at the previous meeting. If you look at the second paragraph, that's where the majority of the changes were. I put public comment speakers must be eligible for a Muskego Public Library card. Not that they're required to have one in hand, but that they basically are a resident of Wisconsin, so to meet that eligibility requirement. And then, let's see here. Where was the other? Patrons will be limited to making comments related to all agenda items, excluding closed session items relating to employment and labor issues. That was some feedback Tracy had given last time, and that is in line with the city's policy as well. So I made those 2 changes. Other than that, everything else I believe is the same. Any thoughts?
I'll start, I guess, with mine here.
Should we motion to approve it?
Well, we're kind
And
of,
then
we kind
discussion?
of, yeah, but we had all that discussion on the bathrooms before we went to motion, so if you prefer a motion, we can do that. I mean, this is it's
We're
simpler.
doing Robert's
We look for a
rule.
motion to approve the public comments at library boards meeting policy. Looking for a motion.
I motion.
Thank you. Tracy, a second?
I'll second.
I didn't hear.
I'll second that.
And Deb will second. Now we can go to discussion. Okay, a couple of things just based on my experience at being part of public meetings and that type of thing is we gotta make sure that we have the forms for people. So we'll have to construct some kind of form. And we also have to figure out who's gonna be doing the timing. Because I think it's very different than a common council meeting where you have kind of all of that already. We're not really set up for that kind of thing, so.
I would take care of that.
Okay, so just a couple of housekeeping orders that way. And people must be eligible for the library card, that's what, that's not really defined in the policy. Unless you just said, and I missed it, you were talking about identification, so
Yep, that's-
forgive me if I missed that.
That's in the policy. It's in
Okay.
the second paragraph.
Um,
How do you guys feel about that?
No, I think they should be residents.
So we can't have it be.
I mean, of Wisconsin. Like,
yeah,
it can't
okay,
be like
okay.
Minnesota
okay.
or-
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And technically, I mean, this would not, you're gonna get hooked on semantics here. This is a policy, it's not considered the bylaw, because the bylaws are all just like trustee type bylaws and that kind of thing, just so we keep, I
Correct.
wanna make sure I got the language right.
This would be
and
an
this is a
official.
policy.
Yep, it's an official policy, so it would be listed on the website, which I think is good. That way, patrons can, if they want to do public comment, they have a very clear and accessible way of seeing like, this is what I can and cannot do.
When's the last time you had public comment?
We actually had someone during COVID give comment.
I don't
I
know.
think.
I
Well,
think they
no,
were present,
they were
but
present, but
never
they didn't
said
make a
anything.
comment. You're right.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Okay,
Yeah.
then, and the only reason I ask is, and I should know this, but I don't. Do we need to write the word policy after public comments at library board meetings policy? I don't know if we say that with everything, just on the title I'm talking about. Because we just say public comments at library board meetings, and I don't know where this goes, that's
Oh
why.
yeah, so it says policy down at the bottom in the footer. I believe. Let me see here. What do
Oh, there, it says it
like
in the footer, you're
our
right.
code of conduct doesn't say policy after it, but let me see for consistency's sake.
Because we have library's code of conduct policy, it says that right in the document.
Oh,
On
look
the
at that!
last
Look at all
line.
the titles there. Meeting room policy. Yep. Okay, I can make
So
that
I
change.
would just add that, since that's where it belongs.
Yep. Can do.
This policy does not preclude additional guidelines being developed for meetings with the okay. The only thing I wrote here was, will these developments be included here? This policy does not preclude additional guidelines being developed for meetings with a large number of people in attendance in order to provide as many patrons as possible the opportunity to speak. Are you going to put that in here, what that's going to be?
No,
the
because that's sort of a
guidelines?
game time decision. That's
Okay.
if 100 people show up instead of 3 minutes, everyone gets.
Okay, and then my final comment is, on the library's code of conduct policy, are we going to have them copies available of that policy at the actual meeting?
That is a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe those were my only
Mhm.
comments on that, if anybody has anything else,
Good comment.
please chime in.
You could like hyperlink it into this policy
To save
too.
on paper.
Yes.
Mhm.
And then
That
they
was
wouldn't
what I
have
was
to.
thinking.
That's what we do in ours. Everything's hyperlinked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that too. Cool.
So just make sure we have all the stuff that we need for
Mhm.
something like that, just a timer, whatever, and I suppose, I don't know who's gonna do that, that will obviously be
I
your
would do
decision,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
We usually just use our iPhone.
Yeah,
Oh,
use your
go.
phone.
Well,
That's what we
if
do.
you're okay with that, I'm okay with that, I'm
Yep.
not trying to
Nothing
reinvent the
fancy.
wheel
Yeah,
here.
don't make it
Um,
more complicated than it is.
No.
No, and then the forms,
That's- I mean,
and I
that's
don't
what
know
we
if
do.
there's a standard form that anybody uses or not.
Yeah, I would
so.
probably just look at the cities and use that.
Okay, I think we have a motion to approve on the table.
We already did.
Yep. Yeah,
Alright.
we do. Tracy
All those in
first.
favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay.
I do have one question about that though. And in one of the paragraphs toward the bottom, is that citizen, is it okay for that citizen to stay after their comments? Are they
Absolutely,
expected to?
yeah.
Okay.
No, the whole meeting needs to be open to the public
Okay.
unless it goes as a closed meeting.
Okay.
So that's a great question.
I have one question, just going back to talking about those rooms.
The study rooms?
Yeah, just real quick. You said you don't take reservations for them?
No, we do.
They do.
We do, but we limit it to 2 reservations a month, just so that there's a variety of people that can use it. Otherwise, we could have a tutor reserve all of
Oh, I thought you had said they're first come, first serve.
They are first come, first serve, but then people can reserve them twice a month, and then if someone has a reservation, then we post the sign up and reserve that room. Otherwise, they're first come, first serve, outside of those reservations when they're listed.
Alright.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm clear on that. I was just thinking it should always be make a reservation, so there's no.
Yeah, but you don't wanna have tutors reserving the whole room for the day and then patrons can't use it. So that's why
True,
you
but
have to
then,
kind of
but
limit it.
patrons or somebody could come in and just suck up a room all day too. Anybody could do
No,
that.
I think they're limited by hours, right? You get
No,
2 hours.
I mean, they're limited
I'm-
if they reserve the space, but otherwise, yeah, someone can come in, because if we start dictating that, then we're saying, well, you know, we don't know what you need this for, but you can only use it for X period of time. And having to make that decision, I think, is a little tricky. I would not want to.
I just think there should be a little more
Structure.
structure to it, and I'm only going by, like, we have conference rooms and rooms in our office at my company, and when you're having a closing or meeting a client, you reserve, you know, because everybody wants. I mean, it just works better, and if you didn't reserve it, well, you got to figure. You know what I mean? It's just
Well, maybe with more rooms, you could have these 3 are
if there's
reserved
a,
rooms and these are not. I don't know.
or if there's just
And
an
it works.
easier way to have like a link online for people to go in and reserve rooms, and just and it's all about training people to do.
But they would have to keep track of how many.
And how do people typically reserve? Do they call the library?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
you have
then
to
what
think
if they're
about all the phone
no-shows?
calls and that they have to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of time management to setting that
I
up.
understand both sides on this one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
just feel like there should be
I
really
think if
something
it's
more.
not working, we should leave it alone.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
If
We'll,
it's
we'll see
working-
if we get the money for the new study rooms,
there's
which,
a
and of course I
problem.
know Alderperson Schrader and some of you may know this, but of course this is just the first step,
Yeah.
right? The mayor could look at this and go, you know what, there's not enough, you know, or council could say nope. So this is just the first step in our journey. But if they do get approved, yeah, we'll see what that expansion does.
Maybe, since we're talking about them, if somebody is hogging the meeting room, for want of a better term, bad verb, but
Well, that's what I'm talking about to avoid
then can
that.
somebody come up to you and say, I really would like to use a meeting room and this person's been in it? Do you just
No.
not? Once that
I
person
mean-
has possession, that's 9/10.
Yeah,
so.
because otherwise then it's like, well, maybe that person's using that study room, but what about the person who has the good chair in the back corner near the magazines? And what about that person who has the nice big table? I mean, then we're policing the entire library and defining, you know, you can only use this space for 2 hours, but you can use this space for 3 hours. And that's a sort of a slippery slope, in my opinion.
If you're not having any problems, I think.
And we're outside the agenda item,
Yeah,
so
if it's not
we
broken,
need
don't
to
fix
move
it.
on here.
Yeah, last
The
agenda item.
next item
Yay.
is discussion action approval of library board certification of eligibility for exemption from county library tax. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, I mean,
I
just,
motion to approve.
oh,
I second.
thank you, Tracy.
Oh, we didn't finish. I'm sorry, we didn't ask for the vote, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
We did vote on the other policy.
I jumped the
Yeah,
out of the starting
okay,
gates
thank you,
here.
Tracy. The motion to approve is on the library board certification item. Okay, looking for a second.
Barb
I
did
got
it.
it.
Oh, Barb, thank you.
We're way
Okay,
ahead.
now we're ready for discussion.
The background is in the letter, so I won't repeat it. These standards are meant to ensure library excellence across Waukesha County, and it allows, if we meet these standards, for the citizens of Muskego to be exempt from the Waukesha County library tax, which we always are. But you know, that is We have to meet those standards. So you can see we are at 104% for our library services effort ratio, which basically means we are a net lender. We lend more books than we borrow, and that's where we want to be. We want to be not too much more of a net lender, but you can see we're sort of in that good spot of that. So that's great. So that makes us exempt from the county tax, but for fun, and they do encourage to also look at the other standards. Because this is what the county says you need to pass if you don't meet your library services effort ratio, and we've passed all those as well. New this year, because they have a new county plan in Table 3 on page 25. There's quality assurance standards, and there's some new ones. You'll see we don't pass the last two yet. We do have a circulation policy and a collection management policy, but they're older than 5 years. And as you know, part of my job this year has been to bring policies before you guys, and we've been doing that and or developing new policies like the public comment policy. So those policies are certainly next in line to be brought before you guys. And there's no damage to us by not having passed those because, one, we've passed the library services effort ratio, and two, you're allowed to, quote, fail one activity one time in the 5-year plan. And once we have those policies, that's not a worry again for the future. So,
Can I just suggest that we move those policies to the top?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good. Okay, any comments, any input? Okay, it sounds like we're ready for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Okay. Those two were a lot easier, weren't they? The next, next item is communications and miscellaneous businesses authorized by law. Anything, now this, you wanna bring something up, great, but we can't discuss it any further. This would be the place you're talking about, correct? On that?
Yes. Yeah. So here's a great example. I will be on vacation starting Thursday through August 1st and inaccessible via phone and email because I'll be out of the country. So Elka's in charge, and as you know, she was in charge when I was on maternity leave, so she's very capable, and that's where I'll be.
Okay.
Good for you.
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm very, very
well
excited.
deserved.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sister trip.
No kids?
No kids.
Oh, that's not fair.
I know, I'm not
Habla
smiling.
inglés? Or habla, I think I have to use habla español.
Only 2 semesters of college,
Oh, boy.
so just enough to get you in trouble.
Donde es el baño?
No more talks about
That's
bathrooms.
basically.
No, we're done with bathrooms for the night.
Never again.
All right, I think we're ready to adjourn. Looking
Yes.
for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Sue.
Second.
Deb. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. And we are done at 6:41. 6:40.